You tried to do the keys there, the hot keys.
I'm trying. I'm still trying. They're going and taking us everywhere.
Okay. Well, okay, Jimmy Doane Show here, 4 o'clock on Tuesday, the 30th, I guess, next to last day.
Yeah.
And you can Skype in if you want to. It tells you all there how to do that stuff on the sign and back of the Counselor Curtis. Mm-hmm. So we might have some legal stuff to do today. I don't know. So this is Jimmy Doane Show once again, live streaming to our someplace on eBay. Yeah,
that's right.
Anyway, there's a bunch of stuff today we can talk about.
Okay.
But one of the main things, it's local.
Right.
Today is Election Day.
Oh, okay.
Today is kind of a runoff. I'm not sure.
Vote early, vote often.
Vote early and vote often. We had early voting. We had 5 days of early voting, mm-hmm. and that stopped the other day. And then I think it went through Saturday or Sunday. And then now you can actually go down and pull the lever, punch the card or whatever. No, yeah, something like that. Mark the card.
Right.
But
put your stone in the bin.
Yeah, but what this does is, in some instances, it sort of elects our city and county commissioners to some extent, and then I think it's almost all local stuff here. I'm pretty sure it's almost all local stuff.
Okay.
I don't think there's any. When I say local, I mean this county or Florida. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's any federal stuff here. The next federal thing that we get involved in is on November 8th.
Mm-hmm.
The big one. Now, along that line, I want to do something. I can't see myself holding this stuff up, so you're going to have to help me with this.
Okay.
But in today's paper, mm-hmm. we're going to vote on a couple of amendments.
Okay.
In November 8th.
Okay.
They are the way they vote on the amendments is they are allowed to take the amendment and condense it down to no more than 75 words.
Right.
That's the limit.
Okay.
And so right here, is that there?
The yellow lining messes it up, if you can believe that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
well,
I can put the images in behind you. I mean, or could have.
Well, anyway, let me just tell you where my finger is. Here is the 75 words. Mm-hmm. Now, down between these two fingers mm-hmm. is the actual amendment.
Right. Okay.
So you are supposed to make. First of all, you're supposed to read these 75 words and understand how they translate to this, which probably is 1,000 words, and at least all kinds of stuff here.
Okay.
And then, of course, you get to go out in the town here, and it'll say, vote on one.
Yeah, vote yes on one.
Vote yes on one, or vote no on one. I mean, that is where this entire 1,000 words finally gets condensed down to.
Right?
Is vote no on solar. That happens to be another tax break, but it's a rather extensive amendment, and it modifies the Constitution. Our Constitution is huge. I mean, it's hundreds of pages, and every time.
Is it that big, really?
Oh, it's huge. I looked through it one time. We constitutional amend all the times in this state. Mm-hmm. They've done it for years. I think it was about 30 or 40 years ago they started all over. But almost every year, or certainly around these election times, there's a couple of things on the ballot, mm-hmm. and some of them get through. Mm-hmm. A surprisingly number of them get through. But because for instance, we have a constitutional amendment. We have two of them that I have seen and have had a few laughs about them. One is there's a constitutional amendment that makes pigs a protected class.
Well, yeah, it makes their pig pen and stuff
right.
like.
It has to be a certain size.
Yeah, but we all know that sort of got through because you're allowed to vote on amendments, and just like you said, nobody really knew what the 75-word condensed thing was, and at that point you could pass an amendment with 50% of the vote.
Yeah, now it's 60%.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, the other one, of course, that got through. This was a number of years ago, and I think it was in the 90s sometime. I talked about it. It was interesting. Was our education amendment, another education amendment, and this says that basically they have a right. The children of Florida have a right to an effective and good and high-class education. I mean, mm-hmm. The way it's worded, it's mandatory mm-hmm. that the children in Florida have access to and are in fact educated to the highest level, no matter what. Yeah, right. Well, the thing about it, I said at the time before mm-hmm. this was going through, I said This is so unenforceable, you can't imagine. I mean,
They'll try.
well, I said this was, at the time, I thought this was, a lawyer's bonanza because you'd be class actioning suit right away. I think they finally got around to it in the last couple of years. I mean, this amendment's been in there for 15 or 20 years.
Well, they can use that to shut down schools they don't like.
Okay.
You know,
oh, right. You mean charter schools especially.
Yeah. Then it's not a quality education. It says right here, children are entitled to that. You got to send them back to public school.
Right.
You know.
Well, I think this, I don't know it. I think this was actually aimed at the public schools. I don't think it had anything to do with the private schools.
Okay.
No, I mean, the private schools, you can set up a private school that advertises to dumb down the kids, I suppose, get away with it. But I mean, this would probably applies to the voucher schools, which they close down pretty regularly, up and down all the time. Of course, they don't fund them for anything. Anyway, so we will maybe give a shout out locally here tomorrow to find out who wins and who loses in the elections. It turns out that this is a very liberal university town, and more than likely those people are going to, the people that really want to govern us are going to win. So we'll see how that.
You never know. I got two people I know running in this election.
Do you?
Yeah, hard to believe, but
Not here in town.
No.
Over St. Johns County.
Yeah, Billy McClure
Yeah.
and Tim Canova are both running for Congress.
Congress. Ooh, the big house.
Well, one of them.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Canova's running against Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Hokey smokes. I wonder what she's saying out on the campaign trails these days to try and retain her seat. That'll be kind of an interesting to watch to see.
She's in the lead, I think, or at least
Really?
she
Still?
she was the favorite. Well, she's well connected.
I guess, certainly no corruption there. So, she's the establishment. Let's face it. I mean, she
did what she was supposed to do, man.
Yeah.
She got their people in.
Yeah, that's true. She's
What they paid her.
yeah, she's an acolyte or whatever it is. She's one of these apostle to the leaders or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's election here in Florida, and as I said, now of course, fortunately, what that means is that a lot of the yard signs will go away, and we won't hear any more stuff we won't see in the newspaper the back and forth of how this person or that person is just the dumbest, most horrible person on the planet. I mean, almost all of the ads have been attack ads, and I guess that's because they work or something like that. But when I see all the attack ads, I say, I believe both of them. So, I'm not going to vote for either one of them because I believe you when you say this guy is a total reprobate and this guy is just, his work had to be better to be even manure. I believe you. And so why should I vote for those guys?
Let's vote them some money.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Okay, that's it on voting.
Okay. Okay.
What happened?
Nothing.
Okay, good. Back. Jimmy Doane Show here. We try and get here between 4 and 5 o'clock on most Eastern time, most of the time, to talk about stuff. There's a couple other things here in the stack that I want to chit-chat about. Obama apparently is going to make another executive decision. He wants to ratify the Paris Climate Accord himself during a trip to China. They've already put the fix in that he's going to meet with the Chinese premier guy, and they're going to shake hands and say, sure enough, we're on board to stop the pollution, or we're going to stop climate change. We're going to stop the Earth's changing climate. And so they're going to shake hands on that one. Of course, it says, I love this part, it says, the White House on Monday defended President Obama's decision to enter the Paris, do the Paris Climate Accord without Senate ratification. But I mean, what's the difference between the White House and Obama? I mean, it says the White House defended President Obama's decision. That's Obama defended his own decision, is what it boils down to.
Yeah, they must have meant the spokesman,
Well, I know Joshua.
Mr. Ernest.
Yeah, Joshua. No, but it's just interesting that he's the mouthpiece. It's Obama saying Obama is going to do
sure.
this.
Well,
During his trip to China, President Xi Jinping were announced the ratification of the sweeping climate change before the Sunday opening of the Group of 20 summit. White House senior advisor said the president has the legal authority to ratify the accord without the two-thirds vote of the Senate as required for treaties. This is not a treaty. This is like the Iran thing. You know, it's a handshake. It's an executive agreement.
mm-hmm.
So no, don't worry. Nothing to see here.
Yeah.
They go on. This article goes on, and it's one of these. Methinks the whatever doth protest too much. Because he goes on to cite all the legal, what he thinks are legal arguments for Obama being able to do this. And most of the legal arguments, well, it's been done before. And so...
Well, that's how they get a lot of executive, that's how executive authority usually expands, really.
Right. Well, it has really expanded quite a bit, as you tell.
Well, the executive authority, not so far. Federal authority, yes. I mean, some executives have done. I mean, for example, George H.W. Bush put 600,000 men out in Saudi Arabia as a police action.
Right.
And so, I mean, somebody will use that. Trump or somebody will use that. Oh, just 1 million men.
Yeah.
Just my police out there.
Well, Truman was the first guy to do that, of course. In the Korean War was a police action.
Yeah.
I mean, really,
but what? How many we put? 50,000 maybe or something. I mean,
there was for a while. There was all kinds. I don't know how many. There's still 25,000.
Right.
I mean, there was like lots of people.
Right.
MASH was there. Alan Alda.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was MacArthur. I think was running that thing, and then Truman had to fire him because he was going to go take on China. He started to go up there to get those guys. But I mean, that was just a police action sponsored by the UN, the newly minted UN.
Mm-hmm.
So, and since then, no declarations of war, none, zero.
We had the authorization for the use of military force by the Congress. That's the one that they always talk about. That was the vote after the fact, so that George W. Bush could go into Iraq. They sort of got a ratification for his authorization for the use of force, and that's what's been allowing us congressionally to do all the actions we've done since invading Iraq.
Yeah, okay.
And Hillary voted for that.
Right.
And so you have no choice. I mean, there's nobody...
Yeah.
Who didn't vote.
The thing about it, of course, then there was a separate agreement, of course, to fund it. Which, if Congress had said no, we're not going to give you any money, then that
we just borrowed it.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, but I don't think that the executive branch can go out and borrow it.
Well, they can probably order the Mint to print money, or get the Fed to do.
The Fed's a private organization.
I know, but they're appointed by the president, right?
No, they're elected by themselves, I think. I don't think because if they're appointed by the president, there'd have to be some Senate ratification. Now those guys.
Well, no, I think because it's an administrative position. It's not like.
But it's a private organization. I mean,
It's quasi-private though, and
no, I believe it's totally private. That's if you read the book called The Creature from Jekyll Island.
Right.
They put the word federal in there just as to let people think that it was a government thing.
I understand, but I think it's important that people know that it's controlled by the administration, and the way it's controlled by that is the appointments. I'm almost sure.
Well, the only one that he gets to appoint is the chairman, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, all right. I'll have to check on that. We'll check on that
okay.
if anybody else wants to write in. So anyway, Congress, of course, has said they're not going to be bound by any agreement, that unilaterally done by the executive. And
what are they going to do?
Yeah, right. That's the whole thing. But I love this part here: speculation about the ratification soared as the behind-the-scenes experts got together. The report cites sources who said senior climate officials
Okay.
from both countries worked late into the night. They pulled an all-nighter.
Wow.
And in Beijing to finalize the results. So this is. They sat around, got pizza, had a couple of beers, and just sat there with their sleeves all rolled up and hammered out the agreement. This is the Climate we're going to change the climate agreement. These are the senior, not the little minion climate officials, not the underlings, but the senior, the top
Right.
ones,
Top men.
Top men. What kind of men? Top men. That's right. But to take effect, the accord must be signed and ratified by 55 nations responsible for at least 55% of global emissions so far. 23 nations have emitting about 1%, blah, 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 completed. I mean, nothing's happened. It's all just BS. It's so funny.
Yeah. Well, the funniest part about that was the Chinese half of that agreement, which was they promised to begin to address it in about 10 years.
Right. Yeah, no, it's always
nothing.
It's always way down the road.
It was such a nothing promise.
Well, it's funny because you think about all the reporters, they write this up, and then the CNBC, breaking news, they've announced,
This was the sort of the beginning of them burying themselves, and from my perspective,
as I've always said, it seemed like every year starting at 2004 or whenever they first came out with, it must have been 1994 when Al Gore came out with his book, movie, whatever it was, Nobel Prize.
Inconvenient Truth.
Yeah, Inconvenient Truth. At that time, of course, all of the 97% climate scientists said, we've got 8 years or 10 years or whatever it is, or else tipping point,
it's over.
Doomed, it's all over.
Yeah, we're past that already.
Yeah, but I mean, we passed it like by a decade.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do now? I mean, have they bothered to go back and ask these guys, say, are you buying your property up in Nova Scotia, your beachfront, or?
Well, that's what I always write on the comment section for the climate change things. As soon as anybody wants to sell me their waterfront property cheap, so that they can get out of the danger zone.
Right, danger zone.
I will be happy to help.
Yeah, good, cheap.
That's right.
So anyway, there was some of the other not deniers, but the critics of this thing said who was it here? James M. Inhofe said he issued a white paper in April that said the pact amounts to empty promises that will have no meaningful impact on the climate, and that's exactly right. But,
what?
Yeah, I can't believe that. So they're going to go ahead and they're going to have their entourages, and George and Obama's going to go over there with his 8 limousines, all bulletproofed and everything, IED bulletproof, and the decoys and all that stuff, and run around Beijing. I guess that's going to be kind of interesting. What their critics fear that the executive branch will use the Paris Agreement, whatever that is, while not legally binding, to enact sweeping climate policies without Congress. But of course, Obama comes up and says, no challenge. Nothing is more important than that the no challenge poses a greater threat to future generations than climate change. Nothing. Not the Fed, not the money going down the tunnel, not wars.
Right, as soon as that sun goes nova.
Yeah, right. I mean, we're doomed. In fact, it turns out that even before it goes nova,
the big asteroid thing. Yeah. Oh, you mean just because of the expansion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're toast.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. But by then, we'll be pummeled by asteroids.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how often they happen, but
it's like every 5,000 years there's a even if it was every 50 million. Right.
I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. So
at that point we'll have some technology to get around.
We're not going to be here.
Well, not you and I.
No, but I mean, I doubt if the human species will be here. We've come a long way. What happened is with the human species is we evolved a little too rapidly, technologically, and our id or whatever it is still a reptile mind is still in control. I mean, otherwise really seriously think about wars and everything and that kind of stuff. That's okay in a tribal thing,
mm-hmm.
But now when you nuclear button and stuff like that, I mean,
put a bunch of monkeys in charge, see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Planet of the Apes. So anyway, he's going to embark Wednesday on a Pacific Rim trip. Obama is to stop in Honolulu for the World Conservation Congress.
Good.
So they're going to
golf.
Golf. Yeah. I mean, but just the whole thing is so. I mean, this is 3 pages. I've just wasted a certain amount of time on something that is such a nothing burger, and yet there are people.
Oh, there'll be hundreds of millions of dollars spent.
Oh, that's not all. When you think about the people that want to pass a law, as they said here, a law that if you are a climate denier, you need to go to jail. I mean, you are not allowed to say that. And I mean, even Scott here, didn't he make a ruling about you're not allowed to say something like that, climate change or something?
Who?
Scott, our governor.
No.
He ruled out some phrase. I forget. Doesn't really matter. The point is, when you read about the climate proponents, these people that really want to fix something, and if you call it a hoax, you are, I mean, seriously on their super hate list. I mean, they will come at you like a whole hornet's nest of hornets. I mean, and pillory you personally.
Right, yeah.
So I think it's kind of interesting, and when you realize that it's a joke. I mean, I'm just laughing. They point everything they point to now. Of course, we're getting ready to have a tropical storm here, maybe in the next day or two. Fires, locusts. I don't know, pestilence. The Zika virus.
500 over 500 cases in Florida so far.
Yeah, I mean, the plague is coming on us, and this is all climate warming, global warming, climate change, and we better
about that.
Better be, huh? What are you talking about? That's what those guys say. That all this stuff.
Even the IPCC report has only like 1 meter of sea level rise in the next century.
Well, they did. There's a couple of Pacific islands that have gone under already. I mean, they were only like 6 inches above the thing anyway, but they're uninhabitable. I forget what it's a country actually. That's like on 10 square miles or something. And, it was only this much above sea level anyway. Well, they're calling them off of there because of
They bought a bunch of land in the Appalachian Mountains.
What? No.
One of them did, yeah.
Really? Oh my gosh. Well, that's going to be high enough for him.
Right. That's what they figure.
Good luck, yeah.
I'm not doing this again.
Not doing that's right. It's going to have to really rise beforehand. Even if the tsunami, even if that island over there in the Eastern Atlantic, shovels down, he's safe.
They're good.
Yeah, they're good. That's great. Okay, I'm done with climate change.
Okie doke. Oops. And we're back.
I was going to put on I might do it later for the my rant, but I was going to put on my Hrothgar facade, alternate personality, because strong signal stirs interest in hunt for alien life. Listen to this. Don't be so skeptical. A strong signal detected by a radio telescope in Russia is scanning the heavens for extraterrestrial life has stirred interest among the scientific community.
Among the scientific community, right?
The alien community too, whatever.
Thinking of the Wackaloon community.
Well, no, I mean these, they're.
No, Engineer Eric is right on board with you. Go ahead.
What I'm telling you is that this is. They've come out and they said, well, nothing's, it's pretty tenuous, but we're going to keep an eye on this thing because it's worth further study. The signal is from the direction of blah, 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 a star about 95 light years from Earth. The star is known to have at least one planet, and of course may have more.
Sure.
Certainly not going to have any less. But it was actually detected by this radio telescope in big, long name.
Does it give the frequency?
Yes.
What's the frequency?
10 gigahertz. Which is
exactly?
I don't know. The signal is provocative enough that the Rattan 600 researchers were calling for permanent monitoring. This is the thing. The discovery is expected to feature in discussions at the 67th International Astronautical Congress in Guadalajara, Mexico on September 27th. So this is going to be a topic. It's been a while since they found this signal. I mean, it wasn't like yesterday, but this is when they chose to announce it, I guess. So I guess the scientists are going to sit around and trying to figure out if there's extraterrestrial life. But the thing that they have found, of course, is this we talked about yesterday, I think, was this quote Earth-like planet unquote.
Yeah.
Fairly close,
Right.
Which seems to indicate there could be I mean, it'd be awfully coincidental that there's two of them right near each other, and that's all.
Yeah. No, I'm of the theory that that pretty much every solar system has a whole bunch of planets.
Well, of course, they're not solar systems; they're star systems.
Well, whatever.
Yeah, this is a solar system.
If you say so.
We have Sol.
This is our
We have Sol.
the raw system.
Yeah, right. That's right. But I was working through this. I love this. Working out the strength of the signal, researchers say that if it came from an isotropic beacon, it would be a power only possible for a Cardassian Type 2 civilization, or whatever it is. It's Kardashev Type 2 civilization.
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
All right.
Gillister wrote, referring to a scale system that indicates a civilization far more advanced than our own.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, apparently somebody's mapped it out as to what kind of intelligence, and this is Kardashev Type 2. Now he says, however, if it were a narrow beam signal focused on our solar system, it would be of a power available to a Kardashev Type 1 civilization, indicating one closer to Earth capabilities.
Yeah.
So,
Me too.
Are you skeptical of this?
What I'm saying, two things I'm saying. Number one, if we ever meet up with an alien civilization, the difference in our technologies is going to be amazing.
It'll be like us and ants.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's going to be ridiculous. So for somebody to try to speculate on the various levels of power that they, I mean, it'll be like the Krell. That they think something and it happens. I mean, it's going to be so different from what we, guns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So for somebody to make a scale, it's just ridiculous. And it reminds me of the old estimation. There's a
formula that has like 10 variables.
Right. Yeah, and some of them are like possibility of water 50%. They just make up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and possibility of intelligence developing. 1 out of 2. I mean, they just make it up.
And you multiply it all together. If any one of them is 0.
Yeah, if any one of them was 0 or infinity or something.
Or infinity, right.
Or just a super high number, or just...
So the number of intelligent civilizations, counting this one sort of as intelligent, is somewhere between 1 and 1,000,000. And 1 and infinity.
Right, exactly. You got narrowed down.
You got to narrow down to that. Yep, okay.
And I totally believe that estimate.
Okay, I'm with you on that one. Because we know 1.
That's right.
So God knows who or what. And of course, I love this. This is somebody, some expert, I guess. He says, God knows who or what broadcasts at 11 gigahertz. It would not be out of the question, he speculates, communication is done between ground stations and so forth. I would follow too if I were an astronomer, but I would not hype the fact that it may be a SETI signal, which is search for extra light, terrestrial light. Signal given the significance, it could be something military.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, they have all these different ways.
It could be.
It
could be the horse people.
Well, not that, but military from another galaxy, 97 light years away or whatever. But
okay.
Or local, that they somehow
reflected
disguised
off
it.
of an asteroid or something.
Yeah, of course, they're supposed to. Seriously, if you watch the Jodie Foster movie Contact, that documentary indicated that they can tell, was it local, they examine all the...
you do a little triangulation with some of the other telescopes around the world. And you can get some verification on that kind of stuff. But there's still all sorts of anomalies and all sorts of ways anomalies could arise, as you know.
The unknown unknowns.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, that doesn't even count, the ones we don't know about.
That's right.
But, okay.
So anyway, that's so I'm looking forward to greeting our new alien masters.
Yeah.
When they arrive, we will, we can get rid of our local masters here at the same time.
Probably.
That'd be the first thing to do. All right, I'm done with that.
Okie doke.
I got my mojo working, babe.
And we're back.
Okay, and we're back. The United States government, of course, has once again decided to take control of the drone universe, so to speak. Drone pilots race to get licensed by the U.S. government. Now, this was kind of interesting in a way. The Federal Aviation Authority, FAA, has unveiled new regulations on unmanned aerial vehicles back in June. Both corporate employees and independent operators immediately began signing up to become commercially licensed drone pilots.
Right.
So a lot of people have registered to take the test, which was started yesterday. You could take the test. It was previously, in order to be a commercial drone operator, you had to have an actual pilot's license.
Yeah.
And required to and apply for a complicated and expensive waivers to fly commercially. The new rules will allow any kid over 16 to take an aeronautical knowledge test at an FAA-approved facility, pass a background check, 16, what's he done, and become registered as a commercial drone pilot. Now, there's a bunch of rules. You can't go more than 4. You have to be line of sight. You can't let them out of your sight. And got to weigh less than 55 pounds, which actually for a drone is pretty decent. Fly maximum altitude of 400 feet and no faster than 100 miles per hour. Okay, that's fine. And only operated during the daylight hours. So, there's some regulations on about how you do it. But the thing about it is they found that the increased regulation primarily affects the commercial users, while registered hobbyists potentially engage in undisclosed commercial operations.
What?
Yeah, no, they said that they said that basically what's happened is the regulations are more honored in the breach than in the observance kind of thing. People are flying all over the place with not bothering to
Right.
To sign up with all this stuff. And of course, when you look at the technology that's coming along on this stuff, of course, it says line of sight, complete control, but what about the autonomous ones? I mean, that kind of stuff.
Right. Well, that's the big complaint about this set of regulations is that they don't allow out of line of sight GPS controlled type of flying, which is just.
Well, the people that it says here, the commercial people, are really ramping up on this stuff because they found out that economically based drone uses continues to grow. They've affected industries as far-ranging as construction, agriculture, firefighting, search and rescue. I mean, this is a lot of stuff that you would want, an autonomous drone for. It seems.
Right. Absolutely.
Go find the missing children or whatever it is, and you could just, like you say, GPS programming. And of course, once you have, if you've been over this territory enough times, you will have some pretty precise maps.
Sure.
It's one thing to have a Google map from outer space, but it's something else to have a whatever it is, a 4K picture, whatever, taken from 100 feet up.
Right, with an altimeter measure and all sorts of
GPS,
things.
everything like that.
Right.
And so, I mean, you can get close in, it seems to me. And of course, they can hover, and if they find something that the drone thinks is suspicious, swoop down there.
Yeah, well, obviously to me, and I suspect to you as well, this is just another example of the government minions marching forth and taking control.
No, we're the minions. They're the rulers, so to speak, or whatever. We're the mundanes that have to bow and scrape to our.
Right. Well, I mean the FAA.
Right.
And
well, this is another example of what I've talked about before. When it's going to be Trump or whoever's going to be president, people don't realize that the FAA and all these other agencies, they're little governments all their own. I mean, they can call up, their own little armiette or whatever it is to enforce what they're doing.
Right. Well, and that's what's happened is this. People really haven't realized it, like you said, the proliferation of administrative law.
Right.
It has changed our environment in the United States.
Yeah.
And what we have now are, like you said, independent fiefdoms. We have a system reminiscent of the Middle Ages when monks, for example, would cruise around and exact tithes from people, and then the priests would come around because they were a different sect, a different group, a different layer.
Really?
Yeah, and then
I did not know that.
Yeah, and then of course the government would come around, whatever government you were in as well. And so it was just layer upon layer of people with authority over you. And that's what we have now with the proliferation of licensing. Whatever anybody says, licensing is just anathema to free society.
Yeah,
it is just a curse. It is just it undermines the argument of equality. You cannot have egalitarianism with licensing because at the top of every licensing scheme, of every licensing pyramid, there's somebody who's giving out the licenses.
Right.
And that person does not have a license to give out those licenses.
Really?
You can't. How could you possibly get a license to give out the licenses?
You've got appointed to do it?
It's something. At some point, somebody at the top just says, you know what? I don't need a license.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Well, that's what Congress does.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, right. They'll pass it on. They establish
Right.
the FDA
Right.
and say you are independent.
That's right. That's right. And so
do your own thing.
So those people deem themselves to be safe and conscientious, and they deem everyone else to be not that. And so now you see, I don't know if you read the comments on that article, but a lot of the comments, there were a significant number of comments that said, thank God we have licenses, otherwise people would be smashing their cars into each other and stuff like this, and if you let people fly their drones, they're going to smash them into your house and kill you and into cars and all kinds of stuff, as if people are out in the public are different from people at the FAA.
Right.
The people at the FAA are thinking, shit, we need to have some regulation because we need some security and some safety and stuff. Well, if you're a drone pilot, you're thinking the same damn thing.
Right.
You're not going to fly your drone into somebody in your neighbor's house because you know what? You'll get sued.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's going to be very clear who owns the drone. I mean, so even without the registration situation. This is another example of government overreach, and I've got pulled up behind you just for fun the renewal application for fortune-telling business license.
Okay.
From San Bernardino, and this is obviously a safety measure, so that nobody tells your fortune who is not fully qualified. And there's a picture here. And there's a picture here. Where did I put it? There it is. And you can read the declaration down here in this paragraph underneath here. This is the online application. They've got it all very, very well made out so that you can re-up your fortune-telling license online.
Okay.
With the editable PDF.
Right.
And so here is the declaration paragraph. Here is where you swear that you understand this business and that you let's see, I understand it thoroughly and I will carry out every provision thereof. Let's see, that's sections. That's the code. To the best of my knowledge, I have complied with zoning, building, safety, health, fire regulations. I further state the statements answered. Let's see, continue. Well, okay. It doesn't swear. The person doesn't swear as to their competence, but they swear they complied with all the regulations of the San Bernardino County Code relating to this business.
Well,
so that's good enough, as long as you've satisfied the code and paid your money.
Paid your money.
That's right. Then you're going to get your license.
There's a cartoon that is just a staple where it shows the editor of the newspaper firing the fortune teller columnist, and he says, well, we're going to have to let you go, but you knew that.
Yeah.
So not a surprise.
It's just crazy licensing.
Well, you think about, we're talking, a lot of that stuff, so much of the stuff, everything in the world is always about safety. They have these hypotheticals.
Right. That's because that's where the state power comes from.
Right.
The state has really 4 powers that it identifies as being its own. And safety is one of the cornerstones. And so anything they can tie to that, they can get away with passing a law from a constitutional perspective. But as we have seen from this application here,
it's all about the money.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, again, when they had a big brouhaha about this girl that wanted to do braiding.
Mm-hmm.
Hair braiding.
Yeah, you have to get all kinds of...
They wanted her to have a $10,000 schooling 3-year plan for a cosmetologist. She said, what the heck? I think she said, the reason it made the news is because I think she sued. And I think she won,
well, you still have to have all kinds of licenses to do stuff like clip people's nails, and clip their hair, And
well, and of course, what's interesting when you
feed them,
huh?
You want to feed somebody, you got to have a license from a commercial perspective. I mean, you can't do anything.
No, you can't. Somebody has added up the number of licenses you need. When I was growing up in the 50s, compared to today, and it's like triple the number. I mean,
Oh my God, I would say it's 10 times at least.
I mean, you just didn't have to have a license to do so many things.
You know, go fishing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, as I said, all this stuff is getting permission
Right.
from our overlords.
that's right.
And I wrote in one time to the paper here, and I said, you literally cannot cross the street without permission. And a guy, one of our lefty friends, writes in and says, without the possibility of getting it's a $50 ticket for crossing the street against the light, and so or jaywalking. So he said, well, there's cops not there. All you have to do is wait for the light to turn green. And I'm thinking, that's the permission.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole point. This is permission from a stupid street light in order to go across the street, even though there may be nobody coming for 50 miles, and yet you could be conceivably, if some cop was hiding out in the bushes, would give you a ticket for crossing against the light.
Well, it's for your own.
It's for your own safety.
That's right.
And everything, the stuff that they tie to your own safety is just, it's stunning. And it reminds me a little bit, of course, this is the interstate commerce business too. They have control over everything because of the interstate commerce stuff. So this is where we are, and of course it'll all collapse someday.
Yeah, it'll revert back to freedom.
It has to. I mean, there's just it's gone obviously just way too far. And one of the things you don't realize is that every time the legislature's in session, look out for your wallet. I mean, they're so proud. They call this a do nothing Congress, for instance. Fine, that's okay by me. Don't do anything. And down here, one of the things you don't realize very often is every time there's a law passed, it's enforced ultimately at the point of a gun. I mean, there's a gun involved in that. So.
I realize that.
Yeah, but most people don't. They think this is good for us. So anyway, I'm done with that.
Okay.
And I'm gonna try it on you. Oh yeah.
We might have to break down and get a different bumper music sometime.
We will. We got that coming. It's coming.
Okay, good. Next thing. Okay, I don't really have all that much more unless you do.
I got one more thing here.
Okay.
I wanted to talk about the Colin Kaepernick situation.
Which one is that?
This is the guy who didn't stand for the national
Okay,
anthem.
good.
Okay.
I heard there was another guy.
Oops. He's going to have some friends that support him, I think, eventually. I mean, he's come out and said he's doing it for, I think, Black Lives Matter, basically. That's his complaint is, there's people being shot and killed, and he's drawing attention to it here. Okay. So, and then I saw some people posted online where they pointed out, look, it's his First Amendment right to do that. If he doesn't want to stand up, he doesn't have to stand up. Nobody can make him stand up. And then of course the counter argument to that is that's correct, but it's also everybody else's First Amendment right to burn his jerseys or do whatever they want.
Sure.
And so I noticed that some little girl on the Blaze, a little blonde girl on the Blaze. I don't know her name, or I'd plug her. I mean, and she said, she took him to town because she claims she has relatives overseas, basically risking their lives to defend his ability to do this. And so it basically comes down to people are sort of outraged because he makes so much money. I mean, he's winning in America, and for him to come out and say, "Hey, we're being held down," so to speak, it seems a little bit ungrateful. And
he's got talent,
right?
I mean, the fact is he earns money for his
right, and that doesn't detract from his ability to from his righteousness to protest or anything.
Right.
He can do whatever he wants. So I think you and I are on the same page. I don't really care.
No.
He can stand, whatever it is. But I also don't really care if people want to burn his jersey or never go see a 49ers game, whatever. That's their right too. As long as the government's not involved.
Right.
As long as he can't be arrested for that.
Right. Well, it used to be, as you well know, Can you remember the flag burning?
Yeah,
I mean, that's
right.
in my lifetime.
I know. And there's a lot of people who they think, hey, if you burn the flag, you should be arrested or whatever. To me, that's like the ultimate expression of freedom. Is
Exactly.
and that's what we're representing. But I just wanted to say that.
Well, just to tie the bow on it, even the NFL came out and said, we're not happy about it, but
Right.
he's perfectly right to do it.
Right. So, all right. That's all I got. Maybe we'll get some new bumper music. We got Billy Ann,
Oh, that's right.
master musician. I think is going to help us out with that.
I got one more thing, maybe.
Okay. And we're back.
Okay, and we're back. This is the last thing here for me. And this is kind of controversial. This is along the same lines.
Okay.
The Veterans Affairs quietly bans the Confederate flag at cemeteries it runs.
Really?
Apparently, it runs a bunch of cemeteries, and there are people that fought, or they're Southerners that maybe fought in the Civil War or something, and they're cemeteries.
Right.
And people, they put the Confederate flag.
I'm surprised it's not etched into a bunch of tombstones.
Could very well be. I
Right.
wouldn't doubt. Try and
Dig them all up.
Can you imagine if the Dukes of Hazzard was to show on TV these days?
Oh, no. No way.
God. No. So anyway, the veterans, they quietly moved a month to ban flying Confederate flags from fixed flagpoles at the cemeteries it runs, striking yet another blow against the controversial emblem. Congress had debated and rejected that change, but the Obama administration decided, executive decision, saying it was going to unilaterally impose the restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
While racist individuals and groups continue to embrace the Confederate battle flag, it has never been more clear that this anachronistic symbol of hatred, slavery, and insurrection should not be promoted or gratuitously displayed on federal property. Well, of course, the feds won the war. Mm-hmm. The Union basically won the war, so I guess so. Now we're all feds. But to me, and I've said this before, having been in the South for for a long time, I've come around because I was brought up that this the Southern people were just horrible, rotten, terrible people. But one of the things that I've found since being down here is that we're a pretty friendly bunch, and I don't consider myself to be. I discriminate, but I'm not. I don't consider myself to be a racist. But what gets me about this is that there are those people, fought and should, as far as I'm concerned, should have been allowed to. The total freedom is the freedom to walk away. If they don't like being in the Union, bye bye. I don't understand why it was somebody else's thing to keep the South in. That it all would have worked out just fine, but they had to kill 600,000 people in the process. And that, to me, and of course that continues today. I mean, you still have Sharpton and these race baiters and everything after 150 years still making money on the BLM business and all that stuff. And it's, to me, the guys that fought for their side in the South were as committed to their cause as the Northerners were. And to denigrate a person who honestly, sincerely believed in his cause, because he lost.
Well, we'll have to do a big Civil War episode and get into it on a micro basis.
It's not like there's no book's been written on it.
No, nobody's covered it yet.
Nobody's covered it. We'll do it.
Right.
We'll show it.
So, I mean, I tend to agree with you, but like I said, it's probably a big subject.
Well, the thing is, again, this is an executive order. One of the things that they did, here's a sop to the people. They said, on Confederate Flag Day or Memorial Day, you can go out to the grave and put the flag there, and then when the day's over, you have to come back and take it away. Right.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, they shouldn't be banning stuff from the past. I mean, it seems like whitewashing to me.
It is. I mean, this is rewriting. I won't say rewriting the history, but the fact is,
a little bit. It's like blowing up monuments and stuff, right? Because
they're down here. Of course, they had a Confederate. One of our schools is named after a Confederate general, and interestingly enough, the Education Administration building is named after a Confederate general. But we had
so is the town itself. General Gaines.
Actually, I looked that up, and I'm not sure that's true.
What do you mean? What do you think it was named after?
I'll have
You
to
think
look
it
it
was a Union general?
No. There's another thing there, but anyway, no big deal.
And the lake, Noonan's Lake,
Yeah,
Confederate soldier.
yeah.
You know,
So
there's a bunch of stuff out here.
yeah,
I mean, you could sell it all off and sell all the names off or whatever, but just to, like I said, to blow it all up or to change it just to change it, just to get rid of it,
yeah.
seems a little over the top. But
Yeah, this is part of the, when you look at the history, whether you like it or not,
it happened.
it happened, and I think it's one of those things that can teach us a lot of lessons.
Right.
I mean, really lessons that, you get some of the conservative talk show hosts and they're saying that, people hate, local people, us, hate our country and stuff like that. It's not that. It's just, you dwell on some of the bad things we did. Well, it's stuff, though, that you have to kind of know. I mean, in order to, as Santayana said, if you don't know history, you're destined, you're doomed to repeat it.
Right.
Well, you don't want to do that, and that's why one of the history to me is one of the vastly more important subjects that you should know something about, and the ramifications of some of this stuff. And instead of blindly going off on a bumper sticker, kind of a history. Mm-hmm. So, to me, that's important. So anyway, one of the things I did find about what I consider to be the South, and I'm probably going to hear some stuff on this, is we're getting ready. This weekend we're having a game here, and we park some cars on our lawn here. And every once in a while we'll get some people that come up from, say, Miami to look at the game, or we've even had some people come in from up north, from New York or something like that, because of the importance of the game. And all the time, these people, when we talk to them, they're parking their cars here. We're saying, "Hey, how you doing? Would you like some water?" And they said, "What do you want?" And they said, I talked to this one guy. He says, I come down here and people were just saying hello to me. I thought, God, what? I had to shy away because I thought, where I'm coming from, they want something, and panhandler or something like that. I said, no, that's not the way we do it here. I mean, you just say hello. You're in the aisle of the store, and you pass by somebody. Hi, how's your day? It's just that's what we do here. So get used to it. All right, I'm done.
Okay.
Gonna try it on you. Oh, yeah. I got my mojo.
Oh, this was the other thing.